from zero to millionaire. I want to bring you on my journey of how I use the BRRRR method plus something a little bit different, business credit, to build a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. What makes this BRRRR method unique is implementing the process of quickly getting business credit so that as you start to buy these properties, you don't have to put any money out of pocket. I was able to buy 14 cash flowing properties using this process and dramatically increase my net worth and build my cash flow. And today, I want to share this process with you. Quick story. My wife was pregnant and I was helping my dad fix the roof on his home. So there was a hole in the ceiling. And I looked down from the roof and I saw my wife. And at the time I had been flipping properties, which means I was only as good as my last deal. And I thought to myself, how do I create something that's passive, that grows, and that can take care of my family for future generations? And that really pushed me into being a buy and hold investor. But the problem that I had is I needed additional money for the down payment on these properties. You see, flipping houses can be flashy and cashy. And sometimes you're making lots of money and sometimes you're not making as much money. But having a real estate portfolio brings you cash flow every single month. It really helps straighten and level things out. So in a few moments, I'll share with you how you can quickly get no doc business credit for your real estate business, and you could use that as part of your BRRRR strategy. But first, let's talk about the BRRRR method. So we know that it's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. And I'm gonna go into detail on how you can do each step, including finding and analyzing deals, rehabbing and refinancing these deals, and then scaling the process. Now stick to the end because I'm gonna show you how I find my favorite lenders for doing the cash out refinances without having to deal with pesky seasoning issues. Meaning you don't have to wait a year before you can refinance and get all your money back. Now I've broken this down into 4 easy steps. Acquire the property, build equity, stabilize the property, refinance, and repeat. And when using the BRRRR method, the first thing that you need to decide is whether you're buying for appreciation or cash flow, because that's going to affect the type of asset that you purchase. If you're buying for appreciation, you're gonna make a lot less money today, but you're betting that you'll make a lot more money down the road. It'll actually increase your net worth, but not have a real dramatic impact on your monthly cash flow. This is the more traditional plan for retirement. But what I wanted was freedom. Freedom from having to constantly flip a property to make money. So I bought for cash flow. You see, when you buy for cash flow, you receive more monthly income today, but there's less potential for appreciation later. But the big advantage is that you get out of the rat race a lot sooner. Plus, your bills are taken care of every month through guaranteed income. You're going to need to pick an area that you want to invest in. I picked an urban area because the properties were available cheap and they all needed a lot of work. This BRRRR method could work in any area, but for me, I wanted to make it repeatable. So I focused on only 2 counties that were within a 1-hour drive of my house. Specifically, I bought mostly in Newark, New Jersey, but I also bought in a few surrounding towns as well. Now, when you're finding and analyzing deals, you need to look for properties that have the opportunity to add value. So perhaps you can add a bedroom to the property. Sometimes you can even add a unit to the property. Some cases you could finish the basement, finish the attic, or even finish the garage. And don't forget the most obvious value adder, which is the property needs a lot of work. When you're buying in towns or cities, learn the micro neighborhoods. The micro neighborhoods are the small areas within the larger town. But specifically on the street that I'm buying on, the only boarded up house that I want to see is the one that I'm physically interested in purchasing. Meaning the neighbors' houses look well kept and I'm buying the ugliest house on the block. That's super important because part of the BRRRR method is refinancing the property to get your money back. So what you need to do is buy a property that is in the worst condition of a decent area. So then as you improve the property, you're bringing it up to the level of what the other houses are worth. That's adding appreciation, adding equity that you can pull out when you refinance. There's different tools that you could use to get to know the micro community you're buying in that you could actually use online from the comfort of your home before you actually drive out to do a visual inspection of the area. One of the websites that I like to use is called Spot Crime. You can visually see if there's a lot of crime happening in the specific micro neighborhood that you're looking to buy. So how do we find these deals? Now there's lots of ways to get deals. deals. Everything from the traditional direct mail to text messaging, cold calling, working with realtors, networking, wholesaling, or even driving for dollars. There's also some options that you can do where you implement local SEO, that's search engine optimization, to get deals online as well. If you're doing direct mail campaigns, handwritten letters work best, way better than postcards. I like using the probate deal list and the sheriff sale list. Both of those seller pools have motivated sellers. I know friends of mine, they like to do text message campaigns and cold calling campaigns as well. But a fair majority of my deals came through working with realtors, going on Zillow, and networking with wholesalers. Every single morning, you want to check on Zillow, properties in the area that meet your criteria. Even if you're not ready to buy just yet, start doing this and you'll start getting automated alerts every time a property comes on the market in your target area. This is a great way to get to know a community and a neighborhood as far as what properties sell for, including what they sell for on the low end, the properties that need a lot of work, and what they sell for on the high end, the properties that are fully renovated. I call the difference between these two numbers the swing. You need to buy in towns that have a good swing. This allows you to buy low and refinance at a higher price, which is a whole key of getting your capital back. Attend your local real estate investment club and join all the local Facebook groups where real estate investors hang out. Get to know who's the real deal and who's making a lot of noise but not necessarily doing anything at all. Hang out with the real deal people. Start sharing that you're looking to buy properties and what your criteria is. There's a lot of great resources on how to analyze deals, but what you want to calculate is what your max allowable offer is. This is also known as MAO. You start with the after repair value of the property. If you don't know how to figure that out, become friends with local realtors or appraisers, or use Zillow to figure out what the value of the property will be after it's fixed up. Now, admittedly, Zillow is not the most accurate place to get the valuation on a property, but if you are looking every day and you're looking at the recent sold properties in your area, you are going to start to see what properties similar to what you're buying, what they go for price-wise. So for sake of comparison, let's pretend the after repair value of a property is $250,000. There's different formulas that you can use based on your local market, but a good rule of thumb is to multiply that number by 75%. This is because many banks, when you do the refinance, lend 75% LTV or loan to value. Now, admittedly, some banks will go higher than that, some banks will go lower than that. So $250,000 times 75% equals $187,500. But we're not done yet. We need to back out our repairs. So now subtract your repair costs. For this example, let's say $50,000. So now I'm at $137,500, but we're not done yet. We need to now back out or subtract the closing cost. So let's say $5,000. That brings me to $132,500 as the max allowable offer for this property. Now, just to really make sense of this, if we pay $132,500 for a property and it costs $5,000 in closing costs, plus another $50,000 in repairs, we're all in for approximately $187,500. Now, it's always a good idea to have a little bit more buffer, but I wanted to give you a simple explanation. So if we're all in for $187,500 and the property is worth $250,000, we have some equity to work with. If I go to a bank and I ask them to appraise the property and it comes back at $250,000, the bank will usually lend to me about 75% of the appraised value. So if it appraises for $250,000 and the bank gives me 75% of that as a loan, the bank gives me back $187,500, which is great because that's what I was all in the property for. That brings me to a net zero, meaning I actually invested $0 into the property, but now I have the monthly cash flow coming in plus the appreciation of the asset. That means more money every single month and an increasing net worth. Okay, but how do we fund the deal at this point? What makes this process unique compared to what you may have heard of before is this is the combo technique. The combo technique is using business credit cards and business lines of credit, and a hard money loan to fund the deal. That would be the short-term funding you need to get into the deal. Doing it this way allows you to buy as many properties as you can handle because your out-of-pocket expense is $0. The challenge I see with other BRRRR methods is that you still need money for down payment. This process fixes that. For the sake of simple math, let's stick with our example of buying a property for $132,500. Then we're gonna need $5,000 in closing costs and $50,000 in repairs. So we need a total of $187,500. When working with a reputable hard money lender, they're going to ask you for a down payment. Now, in some cases, I've seen hard money lenders ask for down payments as little as 10%, but as much as 25%. And that's 10% of the purchase and 10% of the repairs. So I need $13,250 as my down payment for the purchase, and I need $5,000 for the repairs. The total amount of business credit that I need is $18,250. The rest of the money is going to be brought to the table by the hard money lender. The hard money lender will do a 1-year loan, which means I have a year to stabilize the property, fix it up, rent it out, and refinance it to pay off the hard money lender. Okay, so how do we get the $18,250? Believe it or not, this is actually one of the easier steps of this process. As a real estate investor, let me break it down for you in a few quick steps. I have a lot of videos on how to build up your business credit, but let me do a quick recap for you on steps that you can take right now. You want to create your company in such a way that banks are willing to lend to you. This is so that you can get that $18,000 business credit card or business line of credit. So the first step that I have for you is to create your company with a neutral name. Now, if you already have your company set up, we can work with what you have. But if you are starting from scratch, try to create your company with a neutral name. It'll make it a lot easier to get business credit. An example of this would be Bob's Real Estate Investment Company, LLC, is not a neutral name. Bob's Management Group is a neutral name. Next, you need to have your company set up as either an LLC or corporation. I know a lot of people will say you can use sole proprietorships or sole props, but they don't work as well as LLCs or corps. I prefer LLCs. But you can ask your CPA what they think is best. Now you want to boost up your business credit score. The quickest way to do this is with 2 services. One is NAV, that's NAV. NAV is a service that tracks and monitors your business credit score, but it also boosts up your business credit score at the same time. It is a paid program, but it's worth it because you're building up your business credit score. And when you get these business credit cards and these business lines of credit, it's not going to affect your personal credit score. The second service is eCredible. You can go to eCredible's website and click the business tab and look at the service that they offer. I recommend both. Quick tip. If you don't already have a DUNS number, that's D-U-N-S, make sure you go get one. You can get the free DUNS number. You don't have to pay Dun & Bradstreet a bunch of money. So you have your company created, you're boosting up your business credit score, and now it's time to work with local banks. We work with local community banks and credit unions. These are the 1 or 2 branch banks in your backyard that you probably never even heard of. I like these banks because they're more startup friendly and they offer what's called no doc funding. This means that you can get business lines of credit and business credit cards without having to show financials. That means you don't have to show tax returns. Working with local community banks and credit unions is a little slower than just going to chase.com and applying for a business credit card, which is fine if you want to do that too. But the advantage of working with these local banks is these are the same banks that you'll be reaching out to after your property is stabilized to do your cash out refinance. And the majority of these local banks and these credit unions in your backyard do not have seasoning issues. You see, with traditional banks, you have to wait an entire year before you can refinance your property. That's not gonna work because of the hard money lender. You need to refinance the property within a year. So by working with local community banks and credit unions that allow you to refinance the property as soon as it's rented out, you can get your money back a whole lot quicker, which means you can start to buy that next property a whole lot faster. Okay, so we found the deal, we analyzed it, and we have the money to buy the property. We closed on the property and now it's time to rehab it. You want to work on properties that are within a 1-hour drive of your house. This is so that you can keep track of your management team and your construction crew. The whole idea here is to add value to the property. You want to take steps that are going to increase that after repair value of the property. An example of how I applied this is I converted one of the family rooms into another bedroom. This added extra revenue to the asset, which not only increases the cash flow, but but helps with the after repair value as well. A book that I recommend on renovating properties is called Flip. They have this chart, it's called the 50 Steps to Rehabbing a House. I actually printed this out, and not only would I keep a copy, but I would actually tape a copy at the house so that we always knew what stage we were at with fixing the property. This is everything from the pre-construction gutting phase to doing all the rough-in, the plumbing, the electrical, the major systems like the HVAC, and then sheetrock, paint, and all the final punch lists. It kept everything super organized. I recommend you grab that book and print out a copy of those 50 steps. All right, so let's talk about the most fun part of this, which is refinancing the properties, because in many cases, if there's a lot of equity in the property, when you refinance and you pay off the short-term debt, if there's money left over, you could actually put that in your pocket as a paycheck. Now that's up to you, and it doesn't always work that way. But in some cases, I actually got paid to buy these properties. You wanna work with banks that will lend a real estate mortgage to an LLC. Almost all of the local community banks and credit unions that we interview offer this type of loan on multifamilies. So think again of local community banks and credit unions. But there's also national banks that you could use as well. I call them niche lenders. They're more expensive, but they do work. One example would be Vizio Lending. I've closed 2 loans with Vizio, and there were no doc applications, which means I didn't have to show any financials. And it was more expensive than the local banks, but at least I was able to quickly get the refinance done and pay off all the debt. So it's up to you which route you want to do on the refi. I've done both, the niche lenders like Vizio, and also working with local banks. My favorite would be the credit unions in the same area of where the property is. Now it's time to scale the process up. I call it the rinse, wash, repeat. At this stage, you refinance the property, you've gotten your money back, you pay off the business credit card or the business line of credit, you pay off the hard money lender. This would be the best case scenario, of course. Not everything always goes exactly to plan, but at this point you can decide if you want to jump back in on the next deal. The magic of the BRRRR method is that you're getting your principal back after each deal so that you can jump into the next deal. My advice would be to find the best property management that you could find. Yes, you can manage these properties by yourself, but my suggestion would be to outsource it to a property manager. This way you don't get that phone call on Christmas Eve that the toilet's clogged. I know we covered a lot in this video, from buying, renovating, renting, refinancing the property, plus my unique spin of using business credit so that you have zero money out of pocket. But this is step by step of how I bought 14 cash flowing properties, increased my net worth by the multi-millions, and got out of the rat race. So I encourage you to take it one deal at a time, but to go ahead and jump in. This process can truly be life-changing. If you like what I share with you, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe if you like these types of videos. I'll see you in the next one.